Hello, welcome back to the What They Said Influencer Marketing Podcast. You've been anxiously awaiting this, I know, but worry not, we're here. If you're watching along on YouTube, please make sure that you give this a like at least and subscribe, because it means that we can keep doing them. We've done all sorts this season so far, from talking about B Corp and the impact on the world that influencer marketing can have for good reasons and good impact. We've also spoken about how to be a Hun with Layla from the Very Group. Today, we're having a really fruitful conversation, and no more puns at all. I've been warned off them. With Annie from Innocent. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for agreeing to do it.
Yeah, no problem.
I did hound you for, I think, circa a month. Maybe longer.
Do you know what? That's not even bad. So,
do you not think?
No, I think 6 months is more intense than a month.
So I'm not that desperate, but...
No, you're not desperado yet.
Annie, can you give us a little bit about what you do on a daily basis? Succinctly, if you will.
Yeah.
If you can.
Yeah, no, so I am the digital and social media manager at Innocent Drinks. So I look after the digital and social media team, and that can consist of big campaigns, working with our media agencies, and just organising how we're going to do an activation across multiple channels. But it can also be day-to-day stuff like filming a video on office confessions and putting it on TikTok. Not that I've done that. I don't know why that popped into my head. But yeah, just anything random that you see that's on a digital social media channel at Innocent, I probably was involved somehow.
It's your fault.
Basically, yeah.
I think anyone that's listening to this doesn't need any explanation, but if you are living under a very big rock, Innocent's got a very distinct tone of voice. And the stuff that Innocent's done on social for at least 10 years, if not longer, has been groundbreaking. I think you were the first brand to really develop personality.
Yeah, and I think as well, like, obviously, I think Innocent's known for their socials, but what I think is really special about the brand is that they've done that since day dot. So I think our packaging is probably the most distinct thing about our tone of voice. So they've had that since 1999 when the company was founded. They've had those little messages on the bottles. The first purchase the founders made was the banana phone that people could phone in to talk to them. So everything that kind of the legacy that social media is used as an extension for existed since day dot. And I think that's what makes Innocent really special, because if you look back in the 1990s, that kind of personality with the brand is unheard of.
Yeah, I think the banana phone still exists because I've seen it.
It does, yeah.
I have seen it. Does it actually connect someone?
Yeah, I pick up sometimes.
You pick up?
Yeah. It's a whole like a network of people, everyone who works at Innocent, so it's not dependent on the team, can pick up the phone. Yeah, they get banana phone training, and then they can pick up the phone.
And what does that entail?
It can be literally anything. I mean, sometimes we get some people trying to, find an easy way to get in touch with someone higher up.
Right.
They're a bit more boring, and usually
Punch
they
you
don't.
up.
Yeah, it's quite a quick phone call, but I've advised kids on like Halloween costumes before, where it was just before Halloween and they just rang being like, what should we dress up as? And we had a conversation about that. I know our CEOs helped people with their Domino's pizza orders. So like, it's whoever picks up, it doesn't really matter. And
it's not necessarily about the drinks either.
No, it's literally, if you fancy a chat, you can give it a bell. Same with our anything, social, email. We have a lot of fun conversations with drinkers that have nothing to do with drinks.
Can we talk about those that are watching? There was a golden smoothie bottle on the table.
Yeah.
Can we address it?
Yeah.
And discuss what this... It's not solid gold, it's just spray painted plastic, much to my dismay. But can we talk about that for a second? What does it signify?
Yeah, so usually if you work at Innocent, when you leave Innocent, you get a golden bottle, which is basically one of our regular smoothie bottles, but it's spray painted in gold. And then the label is dedicated to you. So you'll have, instead of your ingredients list that would be, I don't know, oranges, apples, whatever's in the drink, it would be ingredients that are personal to you. So it could be something like, I don't know, in my case, if I ever were to leave, would probably be 600 million social media posts and 2,000 DMs and one very fun Christmas party. I don't know.
2,000 DMs seems conservative for you. I'm sure there's a lot more than that.
Probably more, yeah. This is just off the top of my head. But so it's always personal to the person leaving. And then sometimes when special occasions happen, we do get it as like a team. And so the one that you've got there is for our UK marketing team that we got 2 years ago.
Nice.
Just because we had a really strong year. And they wanted to show their appreciation, so everyone got a golden bottle.
It's like the golden YouTube button, but probably less expensive and
more personal.
More personal.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
We won't be keeping this, but we will be keeping these on the shelf. Although The ambient stable for 12 hours?
Yeah, don't...
They've been out for an hour.
Yeah, keep them in the fridge, preferably.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think Innocent's been such an interesting brand to work with over the past 6 months for us, and just observing the journey, which you've been a part of for 3 years?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Talking about social then, there's a lot of platforms that you need to engage with. Twitter, now X, has gone through a moment. But how do you decide how you show up and when you show up? And is there any conscious decision around the future of X? And, where are we going there?
Yeah, no. We definitely make conscious decisions wherever we show up and how we show up. I think a lot of it has to do with the community on those platforms and what value they're having from us showing up. So we do have like channels that are more engaging, and then based on their engagement, we want to show up there more because we know that the drinkers who follow us actually enjoy our content. X is a really interesting one. I think the environment on X has on occasion become a bit toxic, so we're a bit more
more often than not.
Yeah. I'd say we're a bit more reserved on X, and that's a conscious decision because we just don't want to get involved in those kind of conversations. I mean,
it has
any brand
shifted.
wants to, but Threads I feel like is now quite a nice one to be on because...
Are you active on Threads?
Yeah, we are. I wouldn't say we're super active, but whenever we have an intrusive thought, we'll pop it online.
Great.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say there's a dedicated strategy to Threads, but we like to be present. And again, like we are on every platform because we also want there to be a touch point for our drinkers. If they do have questions, if they do have something they want to show us, if they do want to interact with us, that we still are there to interact with them. So even if we're not as active on certain platforms, it doesn't mean that we're not seeing anything that's on there. It's just we're consciously choosing to be more active on the ones that we actually think the stuff that we show is worthwhile for people guys to see.
Makes sense. And I think one thing we will address before we go any further is that your audience and consumers are all drinkers.
Yeah.
But I think obviously they are all drinkers and you know them very well and they know you very well.
Yeah.
Is there a time though that you've been surprised how well they know you on those social platforms? Do they anticipate your move? Do they expect things from you?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm also talking about Bake Off here.
Oh gosh, yeah. Bake Off is a very unique experience. I think the beauty about how we do social is that it's not like a social media manager's face to the name, if that makes sense. So I think in the past we've transitioned quite fluently from one person to the next when we've handed over the baton, which is a huge amount of pressure, can I just say, as someone who got given the baton.
I think this is on my shoulders.
Yeah, it is quite a lot because I think as well the previous two people with the role were stand-up comedians. So I'm never going to be as funny as them.
And you're not
they
really funny, so it's quite difficult.
I'm really not. Like, I think I'm just very passe and I get away with labelling it.
But that lands well with British consumers.
Yeah, drinkers. Yeah. So I think that there's definitely like pressure from them, but also I think because our brand is all about human connection and humanness, if sometimes we've missed the mark a little bit, they will call us out on it. And also we are very comfortable with having a conversation of, oh, fair enough, maybe, that wasn't as funny, or, oh, actually that would have been a better idea of how to do it. We'll take notes for next time. So it feels like a conversation more than we can't wait to see what Innocent does next, if that makes sense. And we're constantly trying to take an unexpected angle with everything we do so people can't predict what we're going to do.
Is there anything around social that hasn't landed on the cutting room floor that you thought would have been really good that decided not to put out? Safe space, you can mind it if you like.
No, I think that's a really difficult one. I think there's been like somewhere for various legal reasons you can't comment on a certain movie, for example, because it's like trademarked and stuff like that.
You do have one story though, don't you?
We do have
a particular pink and green film.
A particular pink and green film that was very heavily trademarked, and obviously movies when they come out have a lot of brand collaborations, and because the movie was a big conversation, we really wanted to get involved into that conversation with this very pink and green movie featuring pink and green characters.
But slightly magical.
And
it was big last
musical,
year.
Yeah.
With Rob Livmonska, but sorry. Carry on.
Yeah, no, so we kind of were like, okay, how can we get our in? And so we thought the in is that we can't get our in. So we just kind of rocked up to a certain premiere, not going on to the actual premiere, but just holding our drinks in front of the green carpet of that premiere and just being like, we couldn't actually get in and we're probably not allowed to get in anyways, but we still wanted to show up, and that was our content, and that landed quite well.
Did you see that as obviously your decision made from that Did you see that as risky, or you thought actually this is tame enough?
I do check with people. It's not a. Oh,
I've seen some stuff out, and I don't believe that.
No, I do get like secondary like opinions, and then if they're like, I think that's fine, then it's fine. Sometimes I selectively choose who the opinions come from, of course.
Yeah, sure.
But that's just, you need to
ask for
navigate
forgiveness later.
Yeah. I mean,
unless it's a legal issue.
It's every stakeholder's nightmare, me saying that, but
just you.
Sometimes it just has to be done. I think if you're on a social team, it's quite difficult to there's grey areas, and I think if you tread within a safe space of a grey area, you get a good feel for it as well in terms of where the line is and just making sure you don't cross it. And I think that's one thing that definitely working for Innocent definitely taught me, is where that line is. Just not necessarily based on things I've done, but based on previous things that were done. Yeah.
I mean, my next question kind of segued nicely from that point into how do you get senior leadership on board with riskier or more unconventional content ideas? But from you, it seems as though you've seen a lot out there that's worked historically. Your drinkers expect it. So you put a case forward saying this is, where we need to play, and then stakeholders buy into that, or?
No, I think I go about it quite strategically.
Okay.
I think charisma is a big one. You need to...
Charm offensive.
Yeah, and I also think with stakeholders, they don't work in that space every day, and I think you do need to... It is your job to build trust with them first and foremost before you bring those things to them. So, in the beginning, I would just always be like, okay, we'll err on caution. And I think that built up their trust with me as well.
So you didn't go rogue straight away?
Yeah, I kind of was like, okay, look, hear me out. I like to do the 3 option rules. So I'll be like, option 1 is like the riskiest thing we could ever do. Option 2 is the one I actually want to do. And then option 3 is the one that is super safe but will give us no rewards.
So you want to strike the balance between being particularly inflammatory in the right way.
Yeah.
And then also safe enough that it's not going to offend everyone.
Yeah, and I think by showing them this is the worst case scenario, they kind of then suddenly are like, oh, okay, actually your idea is not as bad as we thought. Do you know what I mean? It might be a little bit...
So you show the nuclear option.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like it's a bit manipulative the way I'm explaining it, but I think it sometimes helps just explaining, this is how drastically bad it could go. And, say, for example, trying to find an example of that, say the conker milk example. I don't know if you ever heard of that. We told people a couple of years ago to eat conkers, and then we realised that conkers were poisonous. Right?
Oh,
if I would have pitched it,
I didn't know that.
We didn't know that when we posted, so we then had to do a whole campaign taking back the joke of eat conkers.
That's great though.
It worked really well, but if I would have pitched it, I would have said, okay, very worst case scenario, we force someone on camera to drink conker milk and die. Best case scenario, we don't use conkers in the thing at all, but then we're just marketing dairy, vegan milks.
Yeah, it's almond milk.
Yeah. Kind of we're just marketing it like every other competitor. And then middle case is we could create a whole joke around the fact that you can't eat conkers. Did you know you can't eat conkers, but you can drink almond milk? That's kind of how I probably would have presented it to them.
Yeah.
And then they would be like, well, we don't want someone to die. We don't want to sound like our competitors, so let's go with option B.
Yeah. Which actually, look, I don't think manipulative insincerity ever hurt anyone. So the fact that you're saying that someone could die, but let's go with this option. The fact that we never saw not conker milk on shop shelves, I feel rocked by that.
Yeah, exactly. So actually, in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't that bad. And it was a great campaign. It did really well, and,
We live and learn.
Yeah.
I suppose I should bring it to influencer, because that's what this podcast is about. And not conker milk. But I think there's a particular challenge for Innocent in that you rightfully said, Innocent's got such a distinctive tone of voice. The way you show up on social is very you.
Yeah.
When it comes to brands, often influencer sits with the social team, or if I sit with the brand team, the challenge of how do you get to carry that tone of voice through, or at least those values through to influencers. So Innocent hasn't worked with influencers for a particularly long time. What has that journey been like, and what was the apprehension of doing it?
Good question.
There's a lot there.
Yeah, no. So journey of it. No, I'll start with apprehension. Innocent's brand is built on authenticity, and I think influence marketing is not the most authentic industry you'd have, because you are physically paying people to show a product in their videos, right? Which is so fair. But I also think influence marketing's come leaps and bounds from when I started out working in marketing, in the sense of you have to be your authentic self to actually be successful as a creator. If you want authentic, people pick up on that right away. and usually it bomb one way or another. So I think that authenticity has kind of come leaps and bounds. Yeah. And so because of it, I before I started there, influencers was very much like if we see someone who happens to like our drinks, we might send them a freebie on us, and if they happen to post it, great, but otherwise no biggie.
So it was just earned in that sense.
Yeah, it was kind of just like a nice little nudge. But if we would have never considered doing paid collaborations. And then last year we had a really big campaign, and I pushed very heavily for trying it to see how it performs in comparison to, say, paid ads, for example, to reach new audiences. And it performed really, really well because I think, again, Innocent's tone of voice is really distinct. And then when you kind of sprinkle that little magic on influencer content, so far we've not had any influencer assets, even the ones that we're not 100% keen on, that have performed badly. They all come across really well to audiences because I think Innocent's brand kind of filters through and trickles through that.
I think that's testament to the vetting that you do as well. Because I think from working with you, I think there's obviously the journey of going to make sure we find the right type of talent. And we've worked with all sorts of brands from Tails.com who have got dog filter, around the types of dog they feature in content.
So cute.
So I can't feature pedigree. It has to be
love that
non-pedigree.
Yeah. Casual dogs,
nonchalant dogs, normal.
Yeah.
To hair care brands where you have to have a diverse range of an inclusive range of hair types. So with Innocent, I think it's been particularly interesting to understand which types of creators do come across authentic, have that tone of voice where they're irreverent, they don't mind taking the mickey out of themselves. Innocent never takes the mickey out of people, they take the mickey out of themselves.
Yeah.
So I think when you plug into those Gen Z and millennial creators that are, there for a good time, they speak honestly to their audience. So I think your brand pillars of being refreshingly honest really resonate with those types of creators. And I think there's been a journey for us. I mean, there's been shortlists where we've had 20 creators, 5 of them perhaps have been right.
Yeah.
After it's gone through your internal checklist.
Yeah.
And then sometimes we've pushed back and said, actually, what about this person?
Yeah.
And there's been like you said, no one has underperformed. And there's been someone that's actually performed particularly well you didn't expect.
Yeah.
So I think that test and learn mindset is probably helping the business understand actually we can find the right people and they don't need to be innocentified. They can be themselves and it still carries through.
100%. And I think that it was never about the fear, I think, of how people perform on camera. I think it was more the trepidation behind it was we don't want their audience to think that them working for us is in a non-authentic way.
Dishonest.
Dishonest, because like one of our huge brand pillars is honesty. So having someone lie saying, oh, I love this drink when actually they hate it doesn't make sense. And I think that was kind of the apprehension always. And so when we then actually tested it, and obviously like if we'd work with an influencer, we usually would, first thing you check is, do you actually want to work with us? Do you like our product?
Do you know the brand?
Do you know the brand? Like, is this something that you want to like consume? And luckily we a lot of the time get yes. I don't think we've had anyone that's been like super big no. Occasionally we get ghosted, but that's fine. No hard feelings.
We don't take it personally.
But yeah, so I think it has filtered through. And then I think in terms of selection, like as you said, we don't pick based on, I guess, looks or what type of content they do. It doesn't have to be someone that's a food influencer, for example, or anything like that. It's very much a personality. How do they come across? Are they their authentic self? And then in their authentic self, do they match their values to ours naturally in a way that their audience would feel that connection between our brand and theirs? That's quite a natural thing. For me personally, like a really good example that happened organically, that is still one of my favourite stories to tell, that happened while I was at Innocent, was we were live tweeting Bake Off in my first year at Innocent.
I do want to talk about Bake Off in a second because I know the ordeal that it is for you every year.
Yeah, it's a process. But we were live tweeting Bake Off, and so I just fell in love with Saku, who was one of the contestants. And so just because I thought she was so cute, I just kept on live tweeting how much we love her. And she then got in touch with us saying, thank you so much. Like, it brightens my day every single day when I see.
Oh, that is so sweet.
Yeah, like she reached out to us personally and was like, I just love seeing all the things you have to say, and it's just so nice, and I really appreciate your support in me in this competition. Like, she got very personal about it. So we invited her to Fruit Towers, just saying, if you want to come by for some free smoothies and like a few treats on us, like we'd love to show you around. And so we kind of built this really organic relationship. And then a couple of months later, we actually got featured in a TV show that, again, I don't think legally I'm allowed to say the name, but it's it features a guy whose last name is Lord Glucose, but yeah. As another name for something sweet. But yeah, so we got featured in that, but we weren't allowed to talk about it. But part of the episode is that the contestants in that show were making really, really grim cheesecakes for our head of marketing. And so we were like, okay, if we would get Saku to actually make delicious cheesecakes, and we happened to post that on the exact same night that this gets aired, hopefully people will be able to connect the dots themselves
and draw the conclusion.
And then also we can work with Saku and her audience can get to know us. And it was a really lovely collaboration. And we're still like, she's been knitting hats for our big knit, for our call to knit. She baked our birthday cake for our dude's 25th birthday last year. Yeah, so like we've got a really good relationship with her, and I think that's just a really good example of how things can happen organically, and they're kind of the relationships that we try and build with creators. And then a lot of the time, obviously, we reach out to them first. But if there's someone that's really into it and really enjoys it, we would never say no to working with them again.
In person's fine though, because I think that my personality really shines.
Yeah, you've got a great personality.
Thank you.
Don't change it.
I won't. Thanks, Mum.
You're welcome.
Let's talk regulations, because it's fun. HFSS, high fat, sugar and salt, and ASA, how does that affect working with influencers? Obviously, they are healthy products. There are natural sugars in there. Has that impacted anything?
I wouldn't say it's impacted the actual work with them, in terms of them being annoyed about something within our products, since we're very transparent on our labels what's in there. But I think we do have to be really careful with words that we use. So for example, the juices there on that shelf, so they're part of our I+ range, so they've got vitamins in them that can support certain functionalities. So for example, making you feel a bit more energized, or helping you focus, or your immunity. But we have to be really careful with how we phrase that claim, because just because you're drinking a citrus shield doesn't mean that you aren't going to catch the flu, if that makes sense. And we don't want to be misleading to our drinkers either. And so we do that with all of our marketing. So it doesn't matter if it's a billboard or social media post, whatever. We are very careful with it. But with influencers, obviously, you then have people who are speaking naturally on camera, and you want them to obviously say things in their own words. We do have to then set some red tape, as in like, just it's easier if you don't go near that area of how you'd phrase it, because otherwise you would have to say it in this specific wording.
And that's when it becomes scripted.
Exactly. And we really, like, that's my biggest allergic reaction, is if something feels unnatural on camera. You want it to feel...
Gives you the ick.
Yeah, you want it to feel like part of our tone of voice is it's your pub with your mate having a conversation. That's how it should feel, and that's how it should feel with the influencers and their content as well. Yeah,
I think it comes back to that authentic piece each time. And we've been at some events recently and love a panel, love listening to a panel. There is always a focus on authenticity, and like you said, I thought we were beyond this point, and I thought we were done discussing authenticity because it's just a given. But as a channel that's really trusted when it comes to influencer, and when you're a brand that's been around for such a long time, looking at working with influencers in a meaningful way, authenticity is going to be front and centre when it comes to it. In an age of AI, where brands are dabbling with that kind of approach to social and comms, it's coming for all of our jobs. How do you ensure...
I'd like to see it try.
Yeah, good luck, chat.
Come at me.
Please, let's not fret it. I'm a hop, skip and jumping away from like being replaced. How does Innocent ensure content does stay authentic then when it comes to not just influencer but social? So you steer clear of heavily scripted messaging, you make sure the partners that you work with in terms of influencers actually love the brand. Is there any other sort of guardrails you've got in place to make sure that you're not falling foul with being inauthentic?
For AI specifically, or for anything?
No, just in general. I can't imagine you using AI, but if you did, it'd be funny.
I mean, we have done like Chat GPT, has Chat GPT written it or us, like contests on social, and luckily people guessed us over Chat GPT every time.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's still
the drinkers are on it.
Yeah, it's still struggling to phrase it. It likes to whip out the fruity puns and stuff like that, which is...
I would never
do
a fruit pun.
Yeah,
absolutely not.
So I think AI is obviously... I think AI is really good at making things more efficient when, for example, you need to find DM or like find a group of influencers from a specific age range or who have a specific demographic, etc. Like I think AI tools in that way are really helpful. But when it comes to the actual creativity and the creation of stuff, I think it can maybe help you with ideas initially, but the execution and the ultimate scope of it, the human touch goes a long way.
Yeah, I feel you on that point. I think
yeah,
it's a great tool, but when it comes to a brand, particularly Innocent, where being honest and human is a key part of that. And also you've touched nicely on those relationship first approaches with talent.
Yeah.
So if they're engaging with you already, they don't want to be talking to a chatbot at the other side. They want to be speaking to just with a banana phone back in
exactly.
the day. They're connecting with a real human.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think particularly when we've done outreach, everyone knows Innocent as the fun brand with the little hats that does nice things.
Yeah.
And that's what gets them over the line. And sometimes when there's brands that aren't so prevalent in the space that are doing good stuff, it's harder to get them to. That's when their fees go up. Or they're like, okay, we're not particularly invested. But it's been really nice to see on outreach talent coming back saying, I love Innocent.
Music to my ears.
Music to your ears. They love Innocent. They love what you stand for. And I think more and more, and we've seen from the panel you were on with us back in Jan.
Yeah, it feels ages ago now.
Where the influencers on the panel were also saying, sure, Innocent, you're vetting brands, but we're vetting you.
Yeah.
And I think you've said it nicely earlier where we've gone full circle now where authenticity's of interest to both parties involved. Well, if there's an agency, all three parties, where the influencers really wanting you to align with their values as well, and you're wanting the influencers to align with your values. And I think we're now in a mature space where influencers feel empowered to have that conversation too.
Yeah.
Because they're not having to accept the brand at face value.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's where influencer marketing's come a long way. I think we started off in an industry where brands were using and abusing people with following because they didn't really know how to market themselves.
Just saw the audience.
Yeah, then it went to the flip side of brands were then being used and abused because people could just charge whatever they wanted because they understood the power that they had. And now it's kind of brands have been really challenged to, I guess, almost influence themselves the way influencers would influence themselves as people, if that makes sense. And obviously Innocent's tone of voice being human. In 1999, I really doubt everyone who came up with how we should write our tone of voice was thinking this far ahead of being like, this is where it would be applicable. But I think it's ultimately it's a brand built on human connection, and I think influencer marketing builds on human connection, and so it just makes sense naturally that that's how the relationship should go. And again, going back to even just from a personal perspective, there's nothing more awkward or worse when there's a talent that you're working with who doesn't want to be there, who hates their life, and who's rolling their eyes before the cameras goes on, and then they put on their smile like, hey, what's going on? You know what I mean? It's like it's really awful to work in those situations, and nobody's enjoying the process. And so in my head, I'm like, why would you want to put yourself into a situation like that where you're not going to enjoy the process? It should be a collaborative thing, and it should be so it suits everyone in a way that's important to them.
Yeah, I think that's definitely, we've moved beyond high volume influence campaigns where we're just seeing how many of them can stick and it's more meaningful, which I think aligns so nicely with Innocent. So perhaps waiting until last year wasn't probably the right moment. Yeah,
I think, I mean, it depends on the industry you work in as well. I mean, we're in FMCG and we're available at retailers, so it's different if you're an e-commerce business where you want to convince people to click through a link to buy your product online. Do you know what I mean? So it also depends on the industry you're in. If you're B2B, it's like a whole different story as well. Like, would you even consider using influencers? If you were, you'd have to be really strategic about the people you choose and like, do they reach the right people that you are struggling to reach? So there's a whole conversation around which industry you are and whether it's necessary or not as well, and how you leverage them in what way.
Yeah, I agree. And then just in terms of when it comes to measuring campaigns for yourself, you're available in retailers. I guess we need to dispel the myth that every influencer campaign is about driving conversions and sales.
Yeah.
Because I think with Innocent, brand is the biggest part of the puzzle. But for you, from your side, what are the most important metrics? Not just reach, but consumer behavior, drinker behavior, brand uplift. What does success look like for Innocent when it comes to influencer marketing?
I think brand uplift's a big one. Engagement as well, as in how many of their audiences commented and like what have they said. I think it's just also scrolling through the comments, how many people wanted to interact with it, how did they interact with it, what was the sentiment.
So many people are having that conversation around sugar. I think this is quite clearly different to a fizzy drink that has perhaps less sugar in it.
Yeah.
But when it's not apples and apples, excuse the
Yeah.
It still blows my mind.
Yeah, and like again, going back to influencers, I think that's the thing that we try and educate them as well, because we are very comfortable with having those conversations, and like when people do message us asking about it, we do have a lot of stuff to get back to them with that are like science-based facts as well. So it's not like a conversation we necessarily shy away from. We wouldn't shout it from the rooftops.
Sure.
Not really sure I should be talking about it right now. But
this would just be essentially the entire segment.
No, but like I think like when we speak to influencers, like that would probably be the number one thing that they would get if someone's saying something negative about our product.
Yeah.
Would be that. So obviously we then have to make sure that they understand as well. You know, if you do get that, like feel free to let us know, and we can send you through what we usually get back to people with that answers their questions as well. Because again, I think it's really healthy to just approach conversations as conversations, and it doesn't all have to be spun really negative and evil and you know, this is the devil's drink. Like we're trying to get more fruit and veg into people's diets, and that's ultimately
the main mission.
Yeah, that's the mission that we have, and that's why our drinks are fruit and veg crushed or pressed into a bottle. And so that's kind of the purpose, and as long as we can boil it back down to that, then that's all that matters.
Which is your favourite?
I'm in a citrus shield phase at the minute, but I always go through phases. So like depending on the weather, I love our bubbles, our innocent bubbles.
That is those bubbles that your office.
Yeah, it's just I love sparkling
water.
water. Yeah. I love sparkling water, and so the bubbles is just like really, it hits the spot, especially in the summer when it's sunny outside. There's nothing better than a bubble. So I'd probably say actually right now bubbles, because it's very sitting at the minute.
Use it as a mixer.
Actually, that's one thing.
I advocate that.
Our little F&D team, who basically make the drinks recipes, they sometimes like to trial in the kitchen for
cocktails,
non-PG friendly beverages.
I would love to see an innocent cocktail.
But they're very yummy, like really yummy.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll obviously, it will not just be juice and a mixer. It will be like mixed with like spritzes and stuff like that, and there'll be fresh fruit in there. So it's all very like
broccoli.
Yeah, it feels like an Aperol on steroids, basically.
And lots of vitamins.
Yeah.
Annie, what's the best piece of marketing advice you've ever received?
The best marketing advice I've ever received was from Anni, who was a community manager when I started. She was my dotted line manager at the time, and she was just like, be human. And I think that's something, there's so much marketing out there, and I think the one thing that I've loved while working in marketing is those touch points when it's felt really human, whether it's a digital conversation or, you know, someone rocking up to the office for a tour. Those moments have felt really special, and I think that's what's kept me in the job I'm in and kept the joy in my job for that long. I think if you're just chasing numbers and just making it about sales and everything like that, yes, obviously that's the point of marketing in the first place, but remembering the human side of it is quite special and unique.
Yeah, I like that. I think being human, everything else will follow.
Yeah.
Because if you're connecting with drinkers and they're believing the story and they want to feel part of that community, then they'll follow you and it will convert exactly where you need to. So that's the questions done, unless you've got any for me.
How are you feeling?
Yeah, not bad. I feel like summer's around the corner.
Yeah.
Would like to be on a beach.
Yeah.
Would I burn.
Do you?
I do really burn.
Like crab burn?
Like, my great-great-granddad was Italian. Did that carry through? Absolutely not. So, I have the tendency just to go right pink. Right, we've come to my favourite segment of the episode, where I get to ask you questions about your LinkedIn.
You had so much fun looking through that.
Yeah.
It was so much
a treasure trove.
Yeah.
There was such quality on there.
Full caveat, I don't really post on LinkedIn.
But as of today, you will be posting.
Yeah. I've been told I need to do more.
Not by me.
Not by him. Not by him. By other people in my life.
It's good. Everyone acts like they've cured a disease every time they post on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm going to be the person that's
well,
like, I saw the sky today and it was blue, and because it was blue, it got me thinking about children and hunger.
And my favourite movie.
Yeah. That's not my journey.
No. I don't see that for you.
That's not my personal tone of voice.
That's not authentic.
No.
That's really not. That's inauthentic for you.
Authentic to me would be reposting a meme and being like, lol. Short and sweet.
For our lie detector, LinkedIn, why?
Yeah.
You see the connection.
Yeah. I like the drawing as well.
Anyways, so we've had a range of people in here from True Start Coffee, another B Corp, scored the highest at 14. You can score up to 15 points.
Oh, right.
So,
Okay. Wow.
How do you think you'll perform? I got 7.
It's either going to be really good or really bad because I've not posted an awful lot. I feel like I remember what I've put.
Yeah, it hasn't changed in years.
Yeah. But then also I feel like because it's been years since I've done much, I might also just not remember a single thing.
Well,
So
look,
we'll see what happens.
we might be pleasantly surprised or we might leave you disappointed. So
either way, I'm going to post more on LinkedIn after this conversation.
I'm going to write Annie M on here.
Ooh,
Let's try Annie.
I was going to say, do I get a last name?
Well, there's only been one Annie on the podcast, so...
I can be the OG.
OG. I'll write that.
Oh, okay.
OG.
Annie Og.
Annie Og.
Yeah.
I'll leave it there for now. So the questions are supposed to be quick fire, but they normally take about 15 minutes to get through. So we're going to go. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
How are you feeling?
I'm trepidatious.
I like that.
I like that word a lot.
I love causing anxiety. It's like my favourite pastime.
I have it all the time, don't you?
So based on some of your recent comments, we found that there is one item Innocent gives out to people leaving the company. What is this item?
Oh, right, okay, a golden bottle, yeah.
Yeah, correct.
I thought it was going to be something like, what merch have we done? And I was like, we've done quite a lot, so...
Well,
yeah.
You can get a bonus point if you can tell us more about why this gift is chosen, but I think you've kind of done that.
Yeah, it's to give something personal to the person who's leaving. That's personal to them and innocent.
Love that.
Mm-hmm.
Question number 2. What was the last brand you interacted with most on LinkedIn?
Oh my gosh.
We spoke about this brand before the podcast.
That I interact as in press like buttons.
I think it's like someone that worked there.
My friend recently joined Red Bull, so I'm going to say Red Bull.
No.
Okay. Oh wait, you guys?
Mm-mm.
No?
No, I'm not helping.
You're throwing me off saying that we spoke about this earlier. I'm like, what?
I think you might have worked there.
Oh, My Protein.
Mm.
Ah, yes.
What picture did you decide to post for your promotional message a year ago?
Oh, I remember that. It was me next to 2 bins. And I was like, which one's more rubbish? Me or the bins?
Correct.
Self-value is really high if you can't tell.
What's he say? Out of these 3 bins?
It's like one of these 3 things has just gotten a promotion.
One of these is pure trash.
Yeah.
You get the bonus point for that one as well because you described what it was about.
Yeah.
What do you mostly use LinkedIn for?
Accepting friend requests.
Yeah.
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 Lots of connections apparently.
Yeah. It's like
LinkedIn
I go on there once every blue moon and I'll spend like an hour scrolling through the requests and then I'll be like, are you someone that I actually am gonna potentially see in real life?
Right. Have you accepted my request?
I think so.
If I've sent you.
I don't know if you have.
If I have and you haven't accepted.
No, I definitely would have accepted if you had. No, I definitely would have.
Could you tell us a bit about your LinkedIn community? What they like?
Really?
I think we've established.
Yeah. I actually think my community is mainly my friends and people I meet at work.
Okay.
And so it's people I've worked with, and so therefore it's people who care about me, which is nice. Because then if I do,
we like these people.
It's people I like, and so if I do put something out there, it's something that people actually want to see. And then like there are a few people that I've networked with or something like that, and so it's kind of like industry similar people. You know?
I kind of feel like LinkedIn has shifted from being a place I was really scared about posting on to actually I've got a lot of friends on there now.
Yeah.
It's like people are posting a lot of personal stuff on LinkedIn.
There's a lot of people from your high school as well. Like I went to high school in Germany.
I probably avoid in real life.
I finished high school in Germany, so I've not seen some people in like since I was 18. I'm almost 27 now. I was going to say 28, thank goodness not. And like they still add me on occasion.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I always can tell when they've graduated uni because that's when they'll start going on LinkedIn and adding people. I'll be like, I have no idea what you're up to now.
I feel like I also use it to keep up saying what people from school are doing.
Yeah.
So I'm very nosy.
Yeah.
What 6 cities do you have listed as workplaces?
Okay, so there's definitely Munich, Manchester,
Mm-hmm.
Derby.
Yep.
London.
Correct. That's 4.
Paris.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm going through my timeline of where I've lived.
One more.
A little bit.
Starts with N. Unless your LinkedIn profile's incorrect.
No, it probably is. I'm just probably absolutely not. Oh, Nottingham.
Yes.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
There you
Actually, black that one out. That was a big commute. That was an hour and a half there and an hour and a half
From
back,
London?
5 days a week.
Jeez.
No, it was from Derby, so it's not
Oh my-
technically that far, but because public transport isn't great in the Midlands, it took me an hour and a half there, an hour and a half back, 5 days a week.
That's commitment.
It was a lot. I was very tired. Uni student as well.
Chronically exhausted.
Yeah.
Can you get a bonus point if you tell us your favourite place and why?
I mean, innocent. Duh. Because of the people, and I feel like it was a company that felt more like they took a chance on me and appreciated me. And my team is just probably the best team I've ever worked with in my life. So yeah, innocent.
That is very nice.
Cute.
And then, so that means London was your favourite city?
No, Manchester.
Oh.
Yeah, controversial, I know.
Whereabouts in Manchester?
I was in Ancoats, like near Northern Quarter.
Mhm.
And I'm a fan of northern people.
They are very warm.
They're not grumpy on the tubes.
They'll talk to you.
They will talk to you.
Yeah.
If you're looking lost, they'll help you. They won't bump you.
And it's not the same in London?
No, weirdly enough, not.
No.
And also, there's a lot of like foxes and rats and pigeons in London. I don't know what to make of it.
But we love nature.
We love nature, but nature doesn't love me.
Right, thank you so much for listening to this episode. Leave some reviews. Thank you, Annie. Really enjoyed this.
You're welcome.
We will see you again soon, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And thanks for listening.